Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Tonight we have John Parr on. John is known mostly for his movie soundtrack hit Elmos Fire, but John has done many albums, done a ton and ton of other songs and projects, and he gives back to the community. And he's a hell of a guy. John, welcome to the show.
Hey man, good to see you. How you doing?
Good. Your big song is Elmos Fire, but I'm going to tell you when your first album came out, and we'll go back a little history. You already know it was your big single, but I remember getting a cassette, and this is before Elmos Fire, and I was just loving it, and I fell in love with like Love Grammar, and then Don't Leave Your Mark on Me, and we even in high school, me and my buddies did like a lip sync video to it. It was, everyone's like, "Who's John Parr?" I'm like, I got the song for you. It was a school project came up. I'm like, I got it, and everyone. So the fact you had actually redone the song "Don't Leave Your Mark on Me" for me was fantastic because I think that's one of my favorite songs by you.
Really? Yeah, we did it twice. We did it, well, originally Meatloaf did it. And then, of course, it was on John Parr 1. And then Jerry Hay, who did all the brass arrangement on St. Elmos, he wanted another stab at it. So we did version 2 on second album, Running the Endless Mile. Yeah, man, thank you. It's one of those songs that not many people know.
And it's crazy. And at the point, like I was in high school, and like I had the cassette, like the first cassette, it didn't have Elmos Fire before he came out. And I was like, "Who is he?" And then someone goes, "We have like a loose band, a couple of friends of ours. We hadn't done anything." And they're like, "Oh, we need somebody to do the lip sync video for a school project." And I'm like, "I got just the artist." And I remember we did it, and no one really knew who it was. I gave them the music and stuff. We just lip synced to it. And afterwards, people in the hallway were coming up to me going, "That was a really good song." Like they thought it was me. I'm like, no, it's John Parr. It's John Parr. So I've always been trying to do the word to spread the message of John Parr. And actually, recently, I've just found your the vinyl of that first album.
Wow.
Which is really fantastic to get my hands on. So you've done a lot of fantastic things. But one of the things I always thought was really great is you're like a Les Paul guy, right? Mostly, or
yeah. I went out my first professional job. I didn't drink. We were working in a club 6 nights a week. Didn't drink for the whole 6-month season. Saved the money and bought the Les Paul. 1971, I think.
I love your guitars. You have some great things on it. So it's pretty much, it seems like it's been the same-ish guitar. Have you done any like revamping over the years? I mean, you have your symbolic one, your main guitar seems like the flag is it, but are there many different versions? Are there different pickups and stuff in them? Or
yeah, that's the same Les Paul I bought, my very first one. And my buddy, my school friend buddy, he started making the fairing systems for motorbike racing, all the kind of airflow systems.
Yeah.
And he built the cover. So it's actually a cover that fits on. So he put the flag on the guitar in 71.
Really? It's like a plate?
It's like a mask. It's the shape of a Les Paul. You just take the strings and the bridge off and you put in the knobs and you put it on and then just put it all back.
That's brilliant. I mean, now everyone does stuff like that, but back then that's...
Yeah, it was, and then I used to have a spare Les Paul. So when we would, in the 80s, when we toured in America, I would have a state flag for every state that I would put on the spare guitar. But ironically, it was amazing. I used to say, I've got a special surprise and come out with this guitar. And it was amazing. You used to get little reaction. A lot of people didn't think it was their state flag. It was like, oh, didn't know it. It was weird.
It's incredible, yeah, because you'd think, who could afford to have 50 Les Pauls or whatever? You'd be
exactly.
Like, no, you just change it. That's brilliant. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. And country ones, we use the Canadian, the Japanese.
I've seen the Canadian one before.
And we got the Confederate one as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't want to do that one anymore. That one's cost a lot of an uproar.
Yeah, man.
So standard Les Paul, regular pickups and stuff, anything custom off of it? Just kind of...
No, I mean, I have another, like a special guitar called the Veteran. And that's kind of a bespoke guitar, like a Les Paul. It's got humbucking pickups, reversed. So it's like a lemon drop, like, the Peter Green. And that's all pewter. So the face of that was made by a jeweler friend of mine. So all the faces, it's still a Stars and Stripes, but unless you look close, you wouldn't know it's because it's engraved. And every part of the guitar is to do with the services in America. So there's lifeguard, there's Navy, Army, Air Force,
which is
all
brilliant.
Different parts. their motives or their Latin phrases,
That is fantastic. That you do that. So one last guitar question, because I love your sound. I love your tone. What gauge strings are you using? Are you using heavy strings? Are you a light string, heavy string guy?
Heavy. I'm a heavy guy. Yeah, I'm so violent with the guitar. I got a 13 on the top.
No way.
Yeah, and an 11 as the B string.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're pretty
normal
heavy.
tuning.
They cut me. I usually at half a step down, so they're a bit slacker, but they're still tough.
Okay. That's 13's big. That's like Stevie Ray Vaughan heavy. That's like baseball bat neck heavy.
Really? Wow. Yeah,
Stevie Ray Vaughan was the same way.
Because I
Just big
break
neck
them.
bats.
No, I mean, but I used it was just because a pretty big neck on that old Les Paul. But
yeah, they do.
I couldn't do two songs with an 09 on it, 009. They just go.
It's funny to hear that about people.
Sorry?
It's funny to hear different guitars. The gauges are so different for people.
Yes, totally. Even on the acoustic. I mean, I play the acoustic so much more these days, but they're big, heavy strings.
Yeah, I haven't figured out what's good gauge for me for acoustic yet. I haven't. That's really such a hard to find a sweet spot. I'm more of a medium gauge for electric. And I'm kind of toying the idea of going back and forth between light, maybe try, but then try heavy. But I don't know. Acoustic's gonna be a tough one to figure out.
A lot of my stuff is quite hard hitting on the acoustic. It's played a bit like an electric guitar, so the feel of it is maybe just a little bit tighter than Les Paul. But I do a lot of hammer and pull offs and bends, so it's it peels my fingers pretty bad.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because you are a good guitar player, and then maybe I hate to say underrated is such crazy. Underrated is such an overrated word. But you're not known as John Parr, either rocker, either singer or guitar player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Which kind of discounts a little bit that you're just, he's that St. Elmos guy, that one hit wonder. First off, I hate that hit.
Exactly.
He's had albums. Yeah. One hit wonder is it's like he's that one hit insurance guy. He's that one hit.
Yeah.
Like no one else in the world. I mean, if you have a successful career and somebody acknowledges something, it's such a misnomer, a horrible thing.
Yeah, it used to bug me, but it's like when I mean, I've been around such a long time. I mean, I've been in this business for well over 50 years. Mm-hmm. So when the internet first came, it was kind of a curse to all musicians and all the music for free. But for me, what it then started to do with YouTube and stuff is people started to discover all my old stuff. And so the word of mouth kind of got rid of, but it used to be terrible, that one hit wonder thing. And St. Elmos used to clunk behind me like an anchor, but I just learned, even actors, they'll go, yeah, he's the guy out of Shawshank Redemption, or he's the what, hey, how bad to have St. Elmo's Fire if you're known for it. It's, it's not a bad
and to that point, I think when I say it means in a good way, it can become like a gateway word. Like, oh, that's John Parr. I like St. Elmo's Fire. What else does he do? Oh, the guy in Shawshank. I like him. What else does he do? That could be a great entrance to anybody, because that's what you want. It's promotion.
And the fact that
journalists, I think journalists were very lazy about it by using it. And it's always like a one-hit wonder CD. You know what I'm saying? It was very lazy and used negative when it's a positive thing. So I
mean, it's really funny because obviously I had a #1 record in America before St. Elmo's Fire. So it was like Naughty Naughty was #1 rock radio record. But I was so late in getting a record deal. I was 32. And you know what it's like. You can buy records from a very reputable band or whatever, and you can just tell they put 2 or 3 on it and they saved some for the next record, and you got 6 or 7 passenger tracks, And for me, I just think, tracks have to earn their place. They really got to earn their place. And I'm not saying everybody does it, but I wouldn't name names, but I mean, some big acts that I was on Atlantic with, because Atlantic were known as a label that would only ever release 1, maybe 2 singles. The acts just wouldn't put the other singles on the album because they thought, well, they're not going to get a shot. Like you say with John Parr 1, Love Grammar was the song that got the record deal and was never really. Oh my God,
that song is it's brilliant. The songwriting is brilliant. To this day, so's the album. Still, like it's a regular flow album.
So it's frustrating, that I don't think I don't think there are any passengers on that record, and I think it could have had 4 or 5 shots at the charts.
I think you should re-release it. Do like a thing. I'd love to hear it out there again. I think
Yeah,
the internet is right.
yeah. Well, it's funny, we're making the new record and it does sound like the old record. It's that style, kind of natural.
Which I wanted to get to also. I just want to give you some props for doing this stuff because I just don't hear enough. You always hear your same part, Sam Fire thing, but that first album and then the second album and the soundtracks you've done so much other good music. I just wanted to shine a light on that for a minute before we.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
went there. So actually, from talking about your new album, and that's your studio, which you're seeing pictures online. It's beautiful.
Timey, yeah.
Oh my God, I would never leave the studio.
Somewhere in Yorkshire. This is we're in a 300-year-old building. The barn you can't see, but we can put an orchestra in the big room. We got sound to picture, and that's a William and Mary barn. So that dates back to 1703. And then
history,
in here,
huh?
1703, yeah. And then in here, we are obviously we've got the digital end with the desk and the computer, but behind me we're nearly all vintage analog. So
I love that.
We've got the Fairchild in here and the Pultex and all the bit.
I love the analog. I love it. That's great. I mean, it's beautiful too. There's pictures for people. I'll put them to the website and all your links below on the YouTube channel, so they can go and look at this because there are pictures. I fell in love with it.
It does. Somewhere in
a barn mixed cavern sort of studio mix. It looks so high tech yet old style. You've got a nice mix.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you get bands in here. Obviously, we get some high rollers, but also it's the kind of place that it's not intimidating. So young guys can come in and, we do weekend rates for kids starting, or some of the older guys that have been in the game, never made it, but they've never recorded their stuff. They've been doing it 40 years, but they've never been in a studio. So we'll have them in at weekend. And the place is, it's not intimidating. And, the room is kitted out with sofas, and even the drummer, the drum kits usually buy the Chesterfield sofas, and people are, I say we'll strike the room and make it empty, but they just want it to be like a home, and
the pictures of it.
Yeah.
Show it. I'm sorry, I made some review. The pictures I look at, I'm like, that looks like a comfortable place to write an album. It looks like it's the best. So you're writing a new album, and has it changed with the years your songwriting? I mean, I assume most people, you being a singer-songwriter, you probably do a lot of acoustic. Even back in the day, you probably wrote a lot maybe acoustic and then switched over, or were you electric player, songwriter, or how's that working out for you?
Yeah, I mean, with me, it's a strange one. A lot of the time it's when I'm driving, so I'm unencumbered by anything. Can be a phrase, and it can be a piano, it can be a guitar, acoustic guitar. I agree with you that just noodling. Yeah, if you put a drum machine on, or you put a synth sound, that can trigger you too. But generally, I come from a more old-fashioned place that is picking a guitar up or playing a piano. But lyrical ideas and certainly notional ideas usually come out the air. They usually come to me. Kind of that second wheel in your brain when you're doing something else, and you could be sanding some wood, and the idea
nice hot shower, you're like, oh, that's a melody.
Yeah, exactly. So with this album it was a lot of pressure because I wasn't really thinking about making a record, and I started doing some work with Kenny Jones, who's the drummer from the Small Faces, then the Faces with Rod Stewart. And then latterly with The Who, he took Keith Moon's place for 10 years.
He's a fantastic drummer too. I'm so excited for this.
So I would do concerts with Kenny down at his place, live concerts. And we became pals. And another drummer friend of his, Mark Singer, said, look, John, we really want to make a record. And I said, man, I'm not. What happened basically was Mark Singer, the drummer, came up here, just set a drum kit up in the room, just got the guitar and started making a record. And I could see there was potential. So what I would do is I'd get up first thing in the morning, write the song, and then we record it later that day. And then Kenny was coming up to do a couple of things. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to write something specifically for Kenny? So he was in the Small Faces, and any of your listeners out there who don't know the Small Faces, please check them out because
And also, shame on you for not knowing the Small Faces people. Shame on you. And then check them out.
yeah, exactly. And
Oh,
so I wrote a song called Last Man Standing because Kenny is the last living member of the Small Faces.
mhm.
So he played on that. And then I wrote another song called Sweeter the Second Time Around, which is about the faces and about the guys up in heaven looking down on who's left. And there's only
That's
Woody
great.
and Kenny left. So that was so great to have Kenny Jones playing these songs. And we had a camera crew in, so we had got a making of movie, and it's
Oh,
beautiful.
excellent.
It's full of humanity and love and the creative process. And it's just, you know, it's not warts and all, but it's just real and hopefully inspiring.
I love that. I'm excited for it. And what's really great about you is you've always, I mean, you really worked hard to get in to the industry for a while, but you've never been bitter. Your songs, even your first big single, everything you've done has always been about love and power and
Yeah,
helping. And then your songs have been for charity, and you've written songs for, like Don't Work with Soldiers, and this, you've always been, no matter how things have been for you, fighting the ugly of the industry. And I'm sure times have changed because every artist has had that big change in the records and the downloading.
sure.
You always stay the course of
Yeah,
of
yeah. I
that
mean, you're the
positive
first
attitude
person
and,
ever
and
say
helping.
you mess. I mean, you're the first person that kind of said that. It's interesting. When you do these interviews, and it's funny when you do them this new way of doing them, how you and I are doing this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a plus to it as well. I found myself saying things that even in a room I don't say. It feels much more intimate in a way, even
Yeah.
though we've got all this technology between us. Um, yeah, I think when things happen to you in life, I've been through the mill a bit with illness this last few years, and it's been touch and go a few times, but I've actually seen it as a blessing because what it's done, I'm empowered. I've got the t-shirt. I've been in the dark place, so I can help somebody else that's in that dark place. Often a doctor or a nurse can't do that because they rarely have been there. They've experienced it from the outside. So I found a lot of adversity in my own life. I can walk in another person's shoes quite easily. And that's enabled me to, I think, write with a great deal of honesty and sympathy, empathy. Certainly when I did The Mission, I was really on my honor, wanted to write what it's like to be a soldier, the wife of a soldier, the mother, the father, the brother. I wanted to explore what that was like. My father had been in the military, but I was very young, so I didn't emotionally know then. But what happened was when I went to America and we did 18 months just on the road for love, not for any money. And we played anything from hospitals to a military base, sometimes arenas. People would come to me and say, my brother is serving. How could you know how I feel? But this song is how I feel. And that kept coming back to me with the military thing. And it took me right back to St. Elmo's, which, obviously was. So it's like, as I say, so it's bigger than a hit record when somebody says, this really touched me, this enabled me to get through the day or whatever. And that's exactly what happened with St. Elmo's. St. Elmo's was written entirely about a young man that broke his back, that was trying to do the impossible, to wheel his wheelchair around the world. This was before the internet, so there was no interest.
Mm-hmm.
Wheelchairs were not the cool thing as the paraplegic games have become a big deal now. That was the one that nobody watched.
Right.
If you see a guy in a wheelchair, I don't know whether to look or to look away, don't want to stare. So it was a funny time. And so St. Elmo's Fire, if I'd have wrote that overtly about being in a wheelchair, it wouldn't have happened. So people listen to it and they think, oh, the pair of wheels is Demi Moore's Jeep. And for once in his life, a man has his time is when Emilio Estevez gets the girl. But it's entirely about moments in Rick Hansen's journey around the world. When I'd written it, and it became a big hit, people would then start saying to me, people in wheelchairs, people with disability, how could you know what I was feeling, because this song actually captures the soul of me. And
That's a
this is
huge
what I'm
gift.
talking about. Yeah, it's
to hear.
my own adversity. Because I've been, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rain in people's lives, but I've had a fair bit in mine. And it's empowered me, and I want to use that power to, and you have to disguise it. You can't, put the dog collar on and be an evangelist always. And so you have to kind of, a religious pal of mine said, you've got to have the gentleness of lambs, but the cunning of snakes. And that was a pastor said it. And I thought, well, yeah, because it bothered me, thinking, well, he'd asked me to do I took a Sunday, I've never done it before. I was in Carolina, and he said, would you do the Sunday service? And I just told the story of my life and my work with the military and a few examples of inspiring stories. And but it worried me doing it, and he said, well, he said he prayed a lot because he'd listened to Naughty Naughty, and it was pretty raunchy, and some of my stuff's pretty raunchy. He said he got the thumbs up and gave me the gig. And so yeah, it's all that. I would have never had what's the word? I would never have the desire or the belief to do it. Because, even as a guitar player, you can practice a lot, can't you? But when you suddenly put in front of people, everything changes. And you have to trust in your time served on the guitar. Think, well, that's, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fine because I put my time in. And I think I kind of put my time in as a human being, I think,
You did, and it's authentic, though. There's a difference, too. People can smell it if you're not. It depends what audience you're going for. If you're going like top 40 radio can really, really be kind of fickle. But you've established an audience, and the world's changed a lot, where authenticity is key for a lot of music lovers, and you're real. You're like everybody else. There's no big rock star thing, and you're writing songs from the heart. And if you don't put exact words in it a certain way, the relatability, even though because what it's about is your heart and things are going on, but you're not labeling words. Like I knew your album inside and out before St. Elmo's Fire. So when I heard those words, I thought it was nothing about the movie. I didn't know about the wheelchair at first, but that was nothing about the movie. I liked it and it felt good with the movie. It had nothing. It didn't even feel like it fit. I'm like, I don't even understand the lyrics to the movie if it was supposed to be. So later on hearing more about it, it felt more just like it was just, to me, it's just a John Parr song that was catchy on a big soundtrack that they needed a push at first because.
Yeah. Well, also, even St. Elmo's Fire itself, I never saw the movie when I wrote the song. All I did was Joel Schumacher, the director, told me what the movie was about. And David Foster, who I wrote it with, he filled me in, but I just wasn't getting inspired. But I knew St. Elmo's Fire was a phenomenon of nature. And it glows in the sky. It goes around the masts of ships, around the wings of airplanes. When there's a lot of phosphorus in the air, it's a freaky thing. And to me, in my mind, I saw Rick Hansen wheeling up a mountain with St. Elmo's Fire in the sky, and he's wheeling towards the embodiment of his dream. Now, in the movie, Rob Lowe just gets a gas container and he goes, "Oh, it's just St. Elmo's Fire. It's nothing." And he lights it. And it goes. Well, if I'd have saw that would have stopped my dream. So, again, it's I'm a hopeful romantic. It's just, metaphors.
So thank God you didn't see the movie before. I mean, I think that's what it is. It's like the minutia of the details of what brought you into this framework of a thought, of a process where you didn't have the framework. Just like when you read a book and you don't see a movie at first, which you imagine.
Exactly.
It's huge. So
you've got an unlimited budget and an unlimited,
so you just
color palette.
Worked off of what you had, your heart, and then your songwriting skills, as opposed to following another man's vision for a pop song.
Yes.
No. And though I want to know, go back to all his other albums and this new album, because everything John does is in par. I hate this, such a pun going in there. It's all even. It's all good. It's not just one good song. I mean, it's such solid albums, And I'm glad to hear you have a new one coming out.
It's like, I mean, you owe it people. They spend their dollar. I mean, I started out for money at 12 years old, and the truck blew up when I was 30 years old, along with the band. And my wife was paying the bills for those 3 or 4 years, and she said, just write songs. I'll pay the bills. And that's I've gone off the point what I'm saying here, but that's what I was doing, just believing and writing. And you said something to me before that led me on to this. I'm just trying to think what you. Oh yes, about the quality of it.
Yeah.
You know, about what you and I knew 32 was old in the music business in the 80s. That was pretty old.
Yeah.
So I knew that there had to be, you know, an iceberg. You know, I had to have some attraction on the top, but there was something more underneath it. And, you know, Naughty Naughty was a very deliberate thing for me. I knew that it was like a catchy tune, had some very clever sounds on it, and some sounds you'd hopefully never heard before. But it also was a rock song. And I thought, in my mind, I thought, this is the only way I'm going to catch that wave. Is by people going, what is this? What is this? You know, and Atlantic did want to release it as the first single. They want to release a song called Magical, and it was a good song, Magical. I wrote with Meatloaf, but it wasn't Naughty Naughty. Naughty Naughty it did the job of an album. I think it was on the chart for so long.
Magical would have been a single, Magical should have been like a fourth or fifth single. It's a fun song.
I think so.
It's not a lead-off song by any
means.
No,
not at all.
It's not even a ballad. It's very unique. I like it, but it's just not a single for everybody.
No, it's not out of the box, and that's the thing you're always searching for. And it's it's the hardest thing, and it must be hard for the greats to a Hotel California or a Love in an Elevator or You Give Love a Bad Name. All those songs that define acts that they've got to try and better. And I think that's the thing. That's another argument for me. I tour a lot with a lot of kind of vintage acts, like with Foreigner and with Journey and the like. And they're fabulous. They're still great. But they need a Don't Stop Believing, or they need a Waiting for a Girl Like You. That's what they need. It's no, why have they got millions of fans and the records aren't, they don't make records. Journey said to me, it's not worth us making records anymore. We don't sell enough records and we got too many songs in the set.
Yep.
But, I think if you want to be valid, you've got to write that killer song.
I agree with you on that level as a fan, especially, but I think because nowadays you really can't albums, no one buys albums for anybody, really, pretty much. It's like a handful of people. It's not even about rock anymore. But I also believe, being a musician, at this point, you can write and record in your own studio and just release singles or just release a small packet, for a small price off your website. Now you kind of have control, and you can probably still make more money from it. So as an artist, I respect artists want to do it, but I get there's a catch for it too. Of how many albums or how many songs in a set list.
Well, yeah, there is that. But I mean, if like this place, there's no way I'm ever going to make this money back. I mean, I get a royalty check, and I think not car, I think compressor, I think EQ, and in the world,
you can't take it with you.
Worlds for plugins, $200, but these babies are $2,000. And who can tell the difference? But I love it. It's my passion. And it's like you say with making records. I'm making a new record. I just paid for the film to be made. Is it cost effective? No. Can I afford to do it? Not really. But if I push myself, I can do it. And that's all that I love it.
Does it make you feel good, John? Does it make you feel good? Does it feel good to write good songs that you do?
Yeah, it makes me feel good. And
there you go.
It feels like you, and also I got to get it out. It's like if you're poorly, you got to get it out. But if I'm creative, I've got to release it. And I still feel hungry to release it, and hungry enough to pick my guitar up every day and practice every day. Because I'm a musician. I'm a gunslinger.
You're a musician. You're not a rock star. You're a musician.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. And that's why I love talking to people. Especially, I go to I gravitate to you because it's not about what's relevant and not relevant. Who makes these rules up? Those are the same people who say what's relevant and cool. The record industry of like who's popular next year.
Yeah.
All these YouTubers won't be popular, or who cares? Do you like writing a song? Do people like listening to it? do half these songs you
Yeah.
write and do, does it touch people and make them feel good? Oh my God, what a
Number
double
one.
gift for you. You do music
Number
and you
one.
make you feel good?
That's right, man.
That's
That's
a
number
millionaire.
one. Yeah. You know, I used to say, I want to reach out those speakers. I want to hit your head, your heart, and your groin. That's what I'm shooting for. You know, does it do that? You know, and if it doesn't, it doesn't make it. You know.
That is excellent. I want to thank you for your time, and maybe when your album comes out, we can come back and talk some more about it. I'd love to break it down. I love to break
Absolutely.
down albums. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
When are we aiming for your album? Like, do you have a deadline? Not like a
Well,
release,
I think literally 5 minutes before we spoke, another gig was cancelled. I was playing with an orchestra next month, and they pulled it. So I think we're going to see, certainly in the UK, a bit more of a deadening down. Uh, I want to fine tune the record, fine tune the movie, and then go out and start anew. Look for the deal and look for the manager. And I think getting all that in place, it's going to be probably spring next year.
So thank you. Everyone go check out John Parr's stuff. Everything's going to be linked underneath the show, all his stuff, all his website, everything. Check out all his albums that you haven't. Get ready for his new one. And I'll talk to you again soon, okay?
God bless.
Thank you, John. You have a good day.